These are the 5 Rolex models, including the iconic day date, you should not buy in 2026. If you ignore this advice, you could face losses of 10%, 20%, or even 40% on your purchase. The Rolex market has changed dramatically. Since the speculative frenzy peaked in March 2022, average pre-owned Rolex prices have crashed 31%. And yet, as of January 2026, Rolex just raised retail prices by another 7% across the board. That gap between what you pay at the boutique and what your watch is actually worth on the secondary market has never been wider. So today, we're going to walk through the 5 models that are the most dangerous to your wallet right now, backed by real sales data and actual market performance numbers from platforms like Chrono24 and Bob's Watches. Number 1. Gold day dates and gold Rolex models in general, but especially two-tone pieces. Nobody's going to argue that a gold day date isn't a stunning watch. It's the president's watch. It's iconic. But in 2026, the math simply does not work in your favor. The white gold day date reference 228239 just jumped 8.6% in the January price adjustment, climbing from $47,500 to $51,600. That is over $4,000 overnight, and not a single thing about the watch changed. Here is the problem. A day date contains roughly 4 troy ounces of pure gold, and with gold breaking $4,400 an ounce in late December, Rolex had to pass those material costs along. The secondary market does not care about Rolex's production costs. The market cares about demand, and demand for gold, Rolex's, has always lagged behind steel sport models. The typical depreciation on a stainless steel Rolex is around 20%. On a two-tone steel and gold piece, you are looking at 30%. And a full gold Rolex, it is not unusual for that number to hit 40%. The all-gold Submariner Bluesy, reference 1266618LB, was retailing for $63,000 before the latest hike. Dealers were buying that same watch for around $55,000. That is a $10,000 loss the moment you walk out of the boutique. If you love gold and want a gold Rolex, buy pre-owned. Let someone else take that depreciation hit. Number 2. The Rolex Cellini, or more accurately, what remains of its legacy. The Cellini line has now been fully phased out by Rolex, replaced by the 1908 Perpetual as the brand's premier dress watch. But there are still plenty of Cellinis floating around the pre-owned market, and some buyers think a discontinued Rolex automatically means appreciation. Not this time. The Cellini has always been the odd one out in the Rolex lineup. It lacks the tool watch DNA that drives collector demand. It does not have the sports watch aesthetic that dominates Instagram and auction results. And on the secondary market, it simply does not hold its value. Collections featuring Cellini models have retained approximately 75% of their original value, meaning a clean 25% depreciation. Compare that to a steel Submariner or Daytona, where you might actually make money, and the Cellini starts to look like a very expensive way to tell time. If you want a dress watch in this price range, there are far better options from other manufacturers that will not punish you financially. Number 3. The Rolex Deep Sea Sea-Dweller. This one hurts to say because the Deep Sea is genuinely an incredible piece of engineering. The ring lock system and the 3,300-meter depth rating make it a legitimate tool watch built for extreme conditions. But here is the reality. Almost nobody is taking their Rolex to extreme conditions, and that massive 44mm case makes it a tough daily wear for most wrists. The numbers tell the story. The Deep Sea reference 126,660 has performed 7.3% worse than the Sea-Dweller collection average over the past 5 years. While the overall Watch Charts market index was actually up 4.3% during that period, the Deep Sea was down 22.3%. That is a 26.6% underperformance versus the broader market. The regular Sea-Dweller 43mm offers nearly the same capability in a more wearable package, and it commands better liquidity and more predictable resale. The deep sea trades at lower prices, yes, but with significantly fewer buyers interested. That is not a bargain. That is a warning sign. Number 4. The gold Yacht-Master, particularly on the Oyster Flex bracelet. The Yacht-Master in precious metals lives in an awkward middle ground. It does not have the historical gravitas of a gold Submariner or a day-date. It does not have the sporting credentials of a Daytona, and in gold, it carries a price tag that puts it in direct competition with watches that simply hold their value better. Precious metal Yacht-Masters get consistently overshadowed by their steel and titanium siblings. The gold versions depreciate faster, and those on the rubber Oyster Flex bracelet fare even worse. There is a psychological factor at play. Buyers spending serious money on a gold Rolex tend to gravitate toward the Submariner or the day-date, watches with deeper heritage and stronger brand recognition. The gold Yacht-Master ends up being the watch people settle for, and the secondary market reflects that sentiment. These watches behave like conventional luxury goods. They trade below retail the moment they hit the pre-owned market, and they stay there. Number 5. The Rolex Land-Dweller, specifically at current premiums for first-time buyers or anyone thinking about flipping. Let me be clear, the Land-Dweller might actually be a very good watch. When Rolex unveiled it at Watches and Wonders in April 2025, it generated enormous buzz, but the reception has been genuinely polarizing. Some enthusiasts love its innovative features and the historical design references. They note that the oyster quartz inspiration actually predates the Tissot PRX by a full year, launching in 1977. Others have called it a mishmash of existing models, criticizing the honeycomb dial and the use of numerals at 6 and 9. And then there is the name. Multiple prominent watch commentators thought Land-Dweller was an April Fool's joke. As one critic put it, luxury names should roll off the tongue effortlessly. Think about how silky smooth it feels to say Rolex, or Submariner, or Daytona. Then say Land-Dweller. It is clunky. It forces you to stutter. Beyond aesthetics, the most common real-world complaint is the lack of any micro-adjustment on the bracelet, a genuine comfort issue for daily wear. But here is the real reason to avoid it right now. This watch is competing for the same buyer who might consider a Patek Philippe Nautilus or an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, established integrated bracelet sports watches with proven investment track records. Authorized dealers did not anticipate receiving even a single one in 2025. Evidence suggests Rolex is using this model as a deliberate pull-through tactic to drive sales of other models, meaning you may need to spend heavily on watches you do not want just to get on the list. And if you are paying gray market premiums on an unproven model with polarizing reviews, you are taking on enormous risk. Wait, let the dust settle. See what the secondary market actually thinks once supply normalizes. So where does this leave us? The Rolex market in 2026 is not the Rolex market of 2021. The days of buying any reference at retail and flipping it for a profit are over. Average prices have fallen from over $17,000 to around $13,400. Retail prices keep climbing, while secondary values keep compressing. Morgan Stanley reports that Rolex's own certified pre-owned program generated $530 million in sales in 2025, up over 60% from the previous year, a strategy enhanced by their Bucherer acquisition that expanded their retail footprint. Rolex itself is now competing in the pre-owned space. The smart money in 2026 is buying stainless steel sport models with proven track records, the Submariner, the GMT Master, the Daytona. References such as the Submariner reference 116,610 have appreciated 335% from 2011 to 2025. That's where the value lives. Everything else on this list is a beautiful watch, every one of them. But in this market, beauty alone is not enough.